Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salam ala Nabiyyina Muhammad. An excellent question was asked, and actually is very detailed and kind of ilmi. May Allah bless us and bless the questioner. If someone is messaging a person online to do a transaction deal like on eBay, and the person is sometimes a woman or the gender is unknown, is this being in seclusion with a non-muhrim? First and foremost, we would say no, it's not. Because you're not alone and you're not in the same presence. However, there are conditions that the scholars mention as far as, these kind of interactions. For example, there are Sharia, sexes have to intermingle in a variety of circumstances. It's almost impossible that you're going to go to the marketplace and not deal with a woman. Either she's working there or you're a man and you're working there and you're dealing with the opposite sex. But there are certain adab that the scholars mention for phones, for other kind of interactions. So that's first and foremost. Secondly, because the way of seclusion is understood in the Prophet's time would have been that two non-muhrims are in the same room alone, whilst now the person could be 2 countries away. Someone might argue by using qiyas and say that it is like being alone with a non-muhrim. However, I don't know anyone who makes this qiyas. I've asked one of the mashayikh about something similar to this, and I've never heard that as being this type of qiyas. So perhaps, and Allah knows best, that you might refer to this as qiyas batil or qiyas fasid, like a false analogy, a wrong analogy, because that would be very impractical. And no, that would be very impractical. So then he says, say it as being alone with a non-muhrim. However, one can counter the analogy, with another, which is by using the example of sending letters in the past. If I ask something permissible in the form of a letter that was sent to a non-muhrim and she was alone while reading it, then isn't that like texting? The difference, of course, is now with texting you can send videos, pictures, and it's live, but analogies are like that. The 2 cases are never identical, but share resemblance. So, mashallah, tabarakallah, some of those things, I think, definitely breaking that down and asking some of the ulama, but ala kulli hal, that in general, as you mentioned, that is not a correct analogy according to the scholars that I've studied with. I haven't seen anything about that because, as I said, there are Sharia, not objectives, but Sharia ways and manners of dealing with the interaction that takes place. That's a natural interaction. You're not going to never see a woman, and a woman's not going to ever not see a man, and I don't think that's existed in any society ever. Even the Taliban, and Allah knows best. But ala kulli hal, and during the time of the Prophet ﷺ, definitely not. So there are times when that's permissible. For a woman, she's going to need to ask a scholar. And that could come through a text, and it could come through a message, and it could come through a phone call, and it could come through a telegram message, and it could come through actually coming to the sheikh and asking him, And that's why Islam is so beautiful, because there are manners and adab that you deal with in all those circumstances. Islam is not an impossible religion that we just read in a book and then we can't practice. No, alhamdulillah, kitab wa sunnah mawjood, wa kitab wa sunnah nutabbak. We can practice it, alhamdulillah. So, with that being the case, as far as the first part of your question, that is not khalwa. But however, as the scholars mention, and one of the mashayikh that has a treatise in Arabic, I don't know if it's in English, that kind of details, and it was well known in the 90s, I believe, is Sheikh Bakr Abu Zayd's treatise about adab al-telephone or something like this, adab al-hatif, the manners of telephone communication. And I believe he deals with it in there about this, how you should be cautious about those things, because obviously there's the potential for shar, immense evil, as takes place through the internet and social media. But however, on the other hand, making a prohibition, is not for us to do unless it is evidenced by the book and the sunnah. And and or the consensus of Ahl al-Ilm. Naam. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Almighty, to accept our good and forgive our evil and protect us from kulli su makruh. Wa sallallahu wa sallam ala nabiyyina Muhammad.